Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivakacharya Ashtotar Srimad ऐसी भक्ति में स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिव्यक्ताचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री रूप शिष्णातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भक्त दस रघुनाथ सद गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड गिरि गोदान की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगमय जमुनामाई की जय। श्रीमती तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्यामवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर ललित विशाखा की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय। ताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning's reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 65, text number 16. Saṅkarṣaṇas taha kṛṣṇasya sandeśair hṛdayam-gamaiḥ saṅtvayām asa bhagavān nānānunaya-kovidaḥ saṅkarṣaṇas kṛṣṇasya sandeśair hṛdayaṁ-gamaiḥ saṅtvayām asa bhagavān nānānunaya-kovidaḥ saṅkarṣaṇasya kṛṣṇasya sandeśair hṛdayam-gamaiḥ saṅtvayām asa bhagavān nānānunaya-kovidaḥ. Anyone? Kṛṣṇasya bhagavān nānānunaya-kovidaḥ saṅkarṣaṇasya Kṛṣṇa santasya bhagavān nānānunaya-kovidaḥ. saṅkarṣaṇasya kṛṣṇasya sandeśair hṛdayaṁ-gamaiḥ saṅtvayām sada bhagavān Mothers. kṛṣṇasya kṛṣṇasya sandeśair hṛdayāṁ-gamaiḥ saṅkarṣaṇasa bhagavān nānānunaya-kovidaḥ. saṅkarṣaṇasa, Lord Balarāma, the Supreme Attractor. hṛdayam, kṛṣṇasya, of Lord Kṛṣṇa. sandeśair, by the confidential messages. hṛdayam, the heart. gamya, touching. santvayām, consoled. bhagavān, the Supreme Lord. nānā, of the various kinds. anunaya, in conciliation. kovidaḥ, expert. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami, Śrīla Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord Balarāma, the attractor of all beings, being expert at various kinds of conciliation, consoled the gopīs by relaying to them the confidential messages of Lord Kṛṣṇa had sent with him. These messages deeply touched the gopīs' heart. Purport. Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī quotes the following words from Viṣṇu Purāṇa 5:24-20, which describes the message Lord Balarāma brought from Kṛṣṇa for the gopīs. Sandeśair sama mudharai prema garbhaye agravyati ramasasavita gopya Kṛṣṇayati manohara. Lord Balarāma consoled the gopīs by giving them Lord Kṛṣṇa's most charming messages, which expressed sweet conciliation, which were inspired by his pure love for them, and which were without a tinge of pride. Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī also comments that the use of the name saṅkarṣaṇa here implies that Balarāma attracted Lord Kṛṣṇa to appear in his mind. In this way, he showed Śrī Kṛṣṇa to the gopīs. Thus, Balarāma consoled Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beloved girlfriends. Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that Lord Kṛṣṇa sent various messages. Some instructed the gopīs in the transcendental knowledge, others were conciliatory, and still others revealed the Lord's powers. Besides its given meaning, the word hṛdaya-gamya also indicates that these messages were confidential. Om jnana timandandasya jnananjana salakaya chakshus unmilitam yena tasmai Sri Guruve namaha. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So, first of all, I'd like to offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas here, especially amongst you. There are many senior Vaishnavas here. So, obviously, it is humbling to speak about the transcendental message of Bhagavatam in front of such exalted Vaishnavas. So, please forgive me if I am not in the right mood of presenting Bhagavatam. Also, this topic which we are discussing here today, Lord Balarāma's visit to Vrindavan, is very confidential matters. And unfortunately, I'm not in one of those categories where I understand the confidential matters of the Lord. I only understand very simply what Prabhupada has given us. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So, my limits of understanding the spiritual life is just ends the chanting of Hare Krishna and also begins with Hare Krishna. So here, of course, in this verse is mentioned that Lord Balarāma was a carrier of message of Lord Kṛṣṇa when he visited Vrindavan. So we all know that at some point in Krishna's Leela here manifested in Vrindavan Dham, he was performing all his wonderful pastimes in Gokul, then in Nandagaon, then also, his pastimes in the forest of Vrindavan. Of course, not just one forest, no, 12 forests of Vrindavan, and tending with all the cows. And then at the other times, he was playing around with his boyfriends. Other times, he was having wonderful relationship with all the wonderful gopīs, the cowherd girls. And this was all going on. And at some point, they were quite happily engaged in the presence of Krishna, enjoying this transcendental relationship with the Supreme Lord. And then all of a sudden, Akrura comes, says, "My dear Lord Kṛṣṇa, time to leave Vrindavan." So, of course, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, as Prabhupada explains. Krishna is always, 24/7 in Vrindavan. Even today, if you are fortunate enough, you probably see Krishna walking around with his flute on the banks of Jamuna. So, we are not fortunate enough. So it's okay. We are not fortunate enough to see that unless until we purify our heart, our vision to see Krishna. We actually cry for Krishna. We haven't actually learned to cry for Krishna. We have to actually learn to cry for Krishna. And Prabhupada explains just like the child crying for his mother. And when the child is crying, the mother is then going to the child to console the child. It was, "My dear child, what do you need? Are you soiled? Are you hungry?" And the mother will take care of the child and comfort the child. So similarly, when we learn to cry for Krishna like the child crying for his mother, then Krishna will look to us and glance upon us. Then he will come and, of course, console us also, because we have been separated from Krishna since the beginning of time, going from one birth to another birth. We don't remember any of these births. So we are under illusion. We think this is the only birth I have. And we are not also preparing to give up this birth. We want to live in this life forever and ever and ever. Of course, that is the nature of the soul, Satchit Ananda, that it is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. But as long as we are caught up in this material body, you will never experience eternity. Although technically we understand from Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, Krishna describes very clearly that the soul never dies. It never ceases to exist. It's always there. So from that we have to have full faith in the words of Krishna, that soul will never die, it can never be cut, it can never be burnt by fire, it can never be drowned by water. But just like, all this wonderful explanation of the soul is given. But would you enter a burning house? So, well, I'm not going to get burnt. We have fear because we know we will get burnt. Or you jump in the Jamuna in the rainy season when the water is full flow, and you fear that you will drown. The soul doesn't drown in water, but the body drowns. So we know from experience that this body is always going to be troublesome or will cease at some point. But explanation given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is very clear, that the soul never ends. It doesn't die, it's eternal. So what is our business? our business is to remember Krishna. And Prabhupada many times says this, I have come to remind you of what you have forgotten. We have forgotten God. So unless and until we remember Krishna and connect with Krishna, then we'll continue merrily in our life, in the ups and downs of this material world. Adi Atmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik will continue. And we'll struggle for existence. And then along comes one wonderful devotee. And he says, my dear living entities, you are suffering in this material world. Let me show you a way out. So, just like here, Lord Balarāma, he brought the transcendental message from Krishna to console the gopīs. So similarly, Śrīla Prabhupada also brought the transcendental message for us to be awakened to the righteous path and take to Krishna consciousness. So, of course, as I said, that at that point when Akrura took Krishna away from here and he went to Mathura, on the premises that I will go to Mathura, do my business, and then come back. And the gopis were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And Krishna, after killing Kansa and reinstalling Ugrasena on the throne of Mathura, he went on to Dwarka. And in Dwarka, he was quite happily engaged himself in another different lila, because of course, the Lord has promised so many different living entities to give their association and have a different kind of pastimes and different rasas. So all the queens of Dwarka were all the sages who wanted to have transcendental pastime with Lord Ramachandra. So Ramachandra said, no, not now. This time I have a different mission. But I will come in Dwarpa Yuga and then I will take care of you then. So these queens were all born, who were the sages from the Treta Yuga and Ramachandra's pastimes. And Krishna was obliging to fulfill their desires. So of course Krishna is going to fulfill everyone's desire, every living entity. He is not limited. Unfortunately, we can't see his unlimitedness. All we see is limitedness of him. And we try to think that Krishna is only in one place, or he can only do so many things. So anyway, the point is that Krishna was quite happily living in Dwarka and enjoying himself in his very Aishwarya Bhav in the palaces of Dwarka. And then along comes Duryodhana and Arjuna to ask for his help. That, there is going to be a battle now. Kurukshetra battle is going to take place. And we need your help. So of course we know from the Mahabharata now that Krishna said, okay, I give you a choice. Either I will join you or my Narayan Sena will join you. You can choose whichever you want. So of course Duryodhana was first there, standing. So Krishna, when he opened his eyes, he saw Duryodhana. So he said, okay, Duryodhana, since you were first, I'll give you the first choice. Now, Arjuna knew very well Krishna is not going to disappoint him. So by Yoga Maya, Duryodhana was given intelligence to say, Krishna, if you're not going to fight, what good are you going to be in my party? Better I take your Narayan Sena. And there's army, you'll fight for me, because this is battle. I don't want a decoration in my party. So Arjuna, then Krishna says, okay, so wait, you take my Narayan Sena. And then it looked at Arjuna and says, he drew the short straw, and Arjuna said, this is the shortest straw which is the best for me, because I was praying that you would be with me. And of course we all know wherever Krishna is, there's always victory. So Krishna went and they had the battle of Kurukshetra, everything is done and dusted. Yudhishthira Maharaj is installed on his throne in Hastinapur. Now Krishna goes back to Dwarka to enjoy his retirement, you can say. And what happens? At the appropriate time, Krishna is feeling all these people who were killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, they need salvation. So let me go and do the Sarada ceremony for them in Kurukshetra. In Kurukshetra, where of course we see today many people go and perform the ceremonies there in that Bhishma Kunda. So when Krishna arrived in Kurukshetra with his brother and his sister, Subhadra, to perform all these ceremonies, word spread very quickly to Braj that Krishna is here. So the Brajbasis said, okay, this is it. Krishna promised to come back and he did not come. All the Brajbasis rushed all the way to Kurukshetra. And Krishna was performing all the ceremonies, everything. And then finally, after everything is done and dusted, Krishna says, now time to go back to Dwarka. But the Brajbasis, especially the gopīs, we are having none of this. You told us you're coming back. We were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and you didn't turn up. Now you have no choice. But we're going to take you back to Vrindavan. So they unleashed the horses from the chariots and pulled the chariot all the way from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. And that pastime also we are observing every year in month of July in Jagannath Puri, the famous Rath festival. So in that whole episode, Krishna is being taken from the temple to Gundicha temple, which is the Vrindavan. So when Krishna came here to Vrindavan, he fulfilled all the gopis' desires. But then at some stage, Krishna went back again. He didn't stay here. Because the Vrindavan pastime is when Krishna is in his youth, his childhood. In his adulthood, Krishna's pastime is in a different realm. So he's performing his pastime in Dwarka. But nonetheless, when Balarāma came to Vrindavan, and all the gopis were anxious and in anxiety that here is Balarāma, he must have brought some message for us. So they started inquiring from me, just like in our ordinary dealings. When we haven't seen someone for a long time, and that person visits you from another part of the world, and immediately you inquire from him. How's our friends, how's our parents, how are our relations, this, that, and how. You inquire for everyone. Why? Because you want to know what's happening. Even though today in modern day we have mobile phones where you just have to use your mobile phone and connect anywhere in the world with great ease. Still, even you have video conferencing and see the person on the other end, you're not satisfied. You want to still know more about them because you have kind of a relationship and attachment with them. But this, of course, is a mundane attachment. But the gopis had a very transcendental attachment with Krishna. It is the eternal one, full of love, as Prabhupada mentions in the Purport, that there is not a tinge of materialism in their relationship. It is very pure and transcendental. So this was these gopis who are in anxiety, and then Balarāma is the carrier of this message from Krishna. So Lord, as Prabhupada mentioned in the Purport, that Lord Balarāma, he was praying to Krishna to manifest in his heart. And then that message would then come out. Now, how that message came out, I don't know. So I was not present that time. But I would assume that Lord Balarāma, being known different from the Supreme Lord himself, he had some mystic powers to project what's in his heart, what the message is carrying in a outward way, so that the gopis who were there, they could perceive this message and then become, completely in ecstasy. So here, you can see that it's mentioned that when the gopis heard all this beautiful message brought from Krishna by Balarāma, they were feeling little consoled and satisfied that, okay, even if Krishna is not physically present here, but we are hearing about him. So, of course, most important is not to see Krishna physically. The process for us in this age is to hear about him. So even in Bhagavatam, Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī starts, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Constantly hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also gave us the process of chanting the holy names constantly. But in what state of mind we should chant? It says, Trinarapi Sunichana, Tararapi Sunichana, Amanina Manidena, Kirtanya Sadahari. So constantly chant the holy name. So Mahaprabhu was also giving us the platform through which we can connect with Krishna. But in what mood we should chant. We should not forget. So mostly, in my experience, we see that devotees saying, okay, Trinarapi Sunichana. be humble. So we try to be humble, but it's very difficult to be humble because the ego is so big and arrogance is so much that you get some power, some position, some respect. Yes, I am someone's very special, and ego gets boosted. So humility is very, very difficult. And tolerance is practically impossible. Although we say, become tolerant like a tree. And we try to tolerate to some point, but at some stage of our limits of tolerance, immediately we explode with anger and there's no control after that. So tolerance is not there. And of course, we have to be free from false ego. Now, to be free from false ego is practically impossible. Unless until you get special mercy of the Lord and His pure devotee. No. Of course, the Lord is always there to give you mercy. Whether we accept His mercy or not is another business. But His pure devotee, He's always there to give His association. And by His association, our false ego is smashed. And sometimes we don't like, especially those who are disciples of particular guru, and that guru sometimes chastises you, and you feel pain in your heart. That I'm serving him, I'm a menial servant of him, and then he's chastising me. It's very painful. Nobody wants that. But of course, that is his business, to remind you you're insignificant. So sometimes, I see, we have special programs in our temples all over the world, and in the special events, we issue special, rosette here, which says VIP, and everybody's saying VIP, So I said, actually, we have misunderstood the meaning of VIP. In our egoistic pride, arrogance, we think VIP means very special person. But really VIP means very insignificant person. We are very insignificant. There is nothing significant for us. So really, if you want to become real VIPs, become insignificant. So then we will be free from false ego. And the next one, which we don't pay so much attention, is Atmanivedana. One should not expect respect at all, but one should be ready to offer all respect unto others. Prabhupada translates this, means one should give all respect unto others. Now all others means we do not become selective. Who I'm going to give my respect to? He says, unto all others, devotees and non-devotees. Of course, in a larger picture, everybody is a devotee of the Lord. Only some have remembered and some have forgotten. But we should see all living entities as very, very dear to Krishna. And therefore we should show all respect to everything. In Ishopanishad it says, animate and inanimate object. So living beings and non-living beings also we should give respect. Not misuse or abuse anything. Because ultimately everything is Krishna's energy. So if you disrespect these things, then you're disrespecting Krishna. And if you disrespect Krishna, then Krishna is saying, okay, that's what you want. It's okay, no problem. I'm very tolerant. When you come to your senses, then you'll realize what you have done, what mistakes you have done, what wrong you have done. And if you correct that, then Krishna says, okay, you're back in the inner circle. Otherwise, he'll push you out in the outer circle. And you're around the outer circle thinking, I want to go in. Krishna says, it's okay, you can come in anytime you want. But there is a price to pay for it. So of course, when we follow this simple process what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is given, then we can chant the holy names without any difficulty. Although all of us generally have great difficulty in chanting the holy name. You can chant everything else, but not the holy name. Holy name is kind of is something which we are kind of forcing ourselves. Unless and until you have developed taste for chanting, you won't want to waste even a moment without chanting the holy name of the Lord. But what we do is we have our chapamalas and we have our fancy, nice counterbeats here. You can see mine is very fanciful here. And then you go 1 mala done, 2 mala done, 16 done. Okay, that's it then. Chanting done for the day. But it's not done. You should be remembering constantly, more and more, just like in our material experience. When you have some very deep attachment to someone, and that person is not within your close proximity, what do? You think about that person all the time. How I can go and see that person, how I can go and meet that person, how we can be physically together. Constantly you're doing that. But why not for Krishna? Because ultimately Krishna is supposed to be the love of our heart. But we don't have the same kind of attraction for Krishna. We are trying, but we don't have the same attraction. I give this example. Young boys and girls, they are growing up, and as soon as they hit that adolescence, the hormones in the body starts playing up, and then nextly, young boy sees a girl, and girl sees a young boy, and say, hello, hello, hello. Cupid arrows flying everywhere, and love is in the air, and you have deep feeling for each other, and then you have kind of attachment for each other. Unfortunately, time has its own different way of dealing with things. So you are in one classroom, and the other partner, love of your life is in another classroom, and the teacher is saying, okay, boys and girls, pay attention. Today, chapter 6, we're going to do this, that, and other. Both classes are going on. Teacher is doing his business to teach the student. That is his business in school. But then the boy and girl sitting there and drawing little sweethearts in the book and writing the name of the dear loved one. The boy is writing girl's name, the girl is writing boy's name. And they're so much thinking about each other because they have some kind of a material attraction to each other. But that attraction doesn't last long because sooner or later that attraction is going to go and you move on to a new body and then you have a new person to be attracted and you keep going in this cycle. But we have to develop this kind of attachment for Krishna. So this transcendental subject matter which Bhagavatam is giving us is to bring us to that level to hear about Krishna. And when we hear more and more about Krishna, the more and more you get to know about Krishna. And more and more you know about Krishna, the more and more you want to know about him. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, when is a conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Gosvāmī, Sukadeva Gosvāmī is speaking, and after he finished speaking, Parikshit Maharaj, I want to know even more. I want to know more. He doesn't seize this. He doesn't say, well, I had it. Now for us, we pick up a Bhagavatam, read one chapter, and I'll say, okay, that's it. Close the book and finish. I'll do it tomorrow now. But do you ever feel the need and the urge that you start with Canto 1 and you start reading and keep going until you reach the end of the 10th canto without stopping? Can we do that? We can't. But Parikshit Maharaj was sitting there for 7 days, constantly hearing. He doesn't want to take a break. And Sukadeva Goswami is just continuing speaking and speaking and speaking. Why? Because this is so relishing. And then in the part where Sukadeva Goswami is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj about the Pandavas, the chapter where he's saying timely retirement of the Pandavas, and Sukadeva Goswami is describing the pastimes of the Pandavas. And although Parikshit Maharaj is the grandson of the 5 Pandavas, he grew up with them. He knows them very well. But still, he wants to hear more about them. Why? Because he's attracted to the glories of the Lord and his devotees. So similarly, we have to develop the same mood to connect with Krishna through our hearing. And our process is very simple. Prabhupada has emphasized so much that this process which is emphasized by Prabhupada, which Prahlad Maharaj at the age of 5 gave, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Now we all know this. I don't think anybody here in this audience would not know about Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. But how many of us are so eager to do this Shravanam and Kirtanam? And when our Shravanam and Kirtanam is perfect, then how many of us are into Smaranam? Remembering. It's very difficult. Because we are not attracted to this subject matter. We are attracted to something which is mundane and material. Now, I will not give any example of anybody else, but I'll give my own example. I joined the movement, moved into the temple in 1979. And I came into contact with ISKCON around 1975. So 75 to 79, it took me that long to convince myself that this is the path I go to give. So finally in 1979, I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to join the ashram and give my life to Prabhupada and his mission. and try to do something little for Prabhupada's mission. Because he did so much at the age of 70. I said, I'm still in my prime at that time, so I should do something for Prabhupada to attract Prabhupada's mercy. So I joined, and I was then practicing. Our different devotees who are guiding us in our spiritual life, giving us many instructions of how to become a perfect devotee. Give up all mundane things, give up material things, and chant Hare Krishna, go out on Sankirtan. So they are very busy, engage ourselves in the transcendental process of Krishna consciousness is given to us by Prabhupada. And there I was one summer afternoon, driving in central London, going on to visit some people to raise funds for our temple. And at a traffic light, the car stopped. And it was a nice sunny day, a warm day, so the window was down. The red light was there, so I had to wait 2-3 minutes. The car next to me was there, and in the radio, in his radio, was the 70s music going on. And as soon as I heard the music, I started singing the lyrics. And then the green light comes, step on, and I went on. Then I was thinking, why the hell I'm singing this mundane song? I have not sung that, not heard that song in 35 years. Before I joined the movement, I used to hear these things. But since I joined the movement, no mundane music. 35 years later, I'm singing the lyrics. Can you imagine? I remember the lyrics and the tune. As soon as the musical tune came, pong, the lyrics started buzzing out, and I started singing the lyrics. Completely mundane lyrics. I was thinking, later on I was kind of introspecting myself, and why? That is because I had so much attraction and love for this music and this mundane song that I still remember it 35 years later. Now I've been reading Bhagavad Gita ever since I joined the movement. I don't know, I forgot count now how many times I've read Bhagavad Gita. But when it comes to remembering the sloka, I said, whoa, doesn't come. I've read it so many times, but it doesn't come. But the mundane lyrics, boom, just one little musical tune and then you're off. This is the attraction of material world. So of course, my realization from that was that we have to give up these things and develop attraction for Krishna, hearing about Krishna. And more we hear about Krishna, then eventually we will develop a taste for it, that we will have that eagerness to hear more and more and more. And every time something happens, you remember Krishna. Otherwise, you will forget Krishna. And if you forget Krishna, then all this hard work which we have put into in our lives up to now, I am saying, I think quite a few of our senior devotees here, including myself, gone past 60. You're not getting any young. And if you cannot remember now, then it will be very hard to, as we progress further. So the whole concept of what Prabhupada has given us through this transcendental purpose of Śrīla Prabhupada is to remember Krishna. And every day we should be thinking from morning when we wake up till night when we go to sleep. Think of Krishna. All the time think Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Either chanting or reading. Chanting or reading. And nowadays we are in such a advanced technological environment that you have these small MP3 players, you have your earbuds, stick it in there and just listen. Even when you're sleeping, put the buds on, listen to kirtan and sleep to the sweet kirtan. You'll be, and very soon you'll go into a deep sleep, but the mind will be hearing Krishna. And when you hear more about Krishna, when you wake up in the morning, you'll be fresh as ever. Otherwise, you'll be thinking about all the anxieties you have done through the day will come back flooding into your mind at night, and most likely instead of dreaming about Krishna, playing his flute on the banks of Jamuna, we'll be having nightmares. And when you wake up in the morning, you'll go, oh God. And you will be completely drained out. And when you're drained out, what happens next day? You cannot give good quality time for service and chanting again. So of course, we have to kind of focus all these wonderful purpose Śrīla Prabhupada has given is to constantly remind us or the beauty of Krishna consciousness, and insight of different pastimes of the Lord and His devotees. And more we remember these things, and more we'll be attracted to it. More and more we become attracted, and our life becomes that much easy because we remember Krishna then 24/7. Otherwise, it is very difficult to remember Krishna 24/7. So today also we are observing, take about 5 minutes to explain, the 18th Tirubhav ceremony of His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And we have been observing this since 2006. We have a tradition. We observe the day before here in Vrindavan, and then the next day the actual Dasera. Of course, there's some confusion now according to the calendar. Some observed it yesterday, some are observing today. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter when you observe. It is the observance which is more important. So tomorrow there will be a ceremony in observance of Tirubhav in Radhakund, but we do it here in Vrindavan. And since Maharaj took his samadhi in Calcutta, and from Calcutta he came here to Vrindavan, and he spent one night here in Vrindavan. And after spending one night here in Vrindavan, in the morning, he came to see his dear spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupada. And he seek Prabhupada's blessings. And then he went to Radhakund to sit in his transcendental samadhi, in his Nitya Lila in Radhakund. So of course, we are celebrating this. It is very painful for the disciples to celebrate the disappearance of the spiritual master. But I personally now have come after 18 years of celebrating the Tirubhav ceremony of Sripad Maharaj, is that I think this is just the most wonderful activity, because he showed by his own example how to dedicate your life to the spiritual master and his mission. So we learn from Prabhupada himself also that Prabhupada had nothing in his heart or his mind except the order of his spiritual master. And if you read his biography and some early disciples who had a very intimate association with Prabhupada, Prabhupada would discuss many times these things, that my only life and soul is to fulfill the order of my spiritual master. And I was thinking how I'm going to do it. And of course, he took shelter of Vrindavan, Radha Damodar temple, in Rupa Goswami's samadhi, and sitting at the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami, he was praying that I have these instructions. I'm getting old every day. How am I going to fulfill this? Then of course Rupa Goswami gave him the power, and Prabhupada said, that's it. No matter what, I am going to America. I am going to give this Krishna consciousness to the world. And in the process, if I leave my body, so be it. So Prabhupada was very, very bold in that, because he had only one focus, how to fulfill the order of his spiritual master. And those of you who know Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he was also very focused, because Prabhupada gave him a particular instructions to fulfill. And all his life, he was trying to fulfill those instructions. And then at the end, when time came for him to depart this world, he very blissfully left this world in remembering the pastimes of Radha and Krishna's separation in some of the Narottam Das Thakur songs. So from the devotees who were with him in Calcutta at that time, he was in his room and was completely blissful listening to these Manipuri songs, but it is basically Narottam Das Thakur's songs in Manipuri language. And he was listening to all this very, very deep separation of Radha and Krishna. And in that mood, he departed. And also when he departed this world, it was the most auspicious time of Dasera, where victory over evil was taking place. Ramachandra annihilated Ravana and established goodness. So all these things was very positive. And then for me, at least as a disciple, I think that, he is such a glorious personality that Radharani was very, very, happy with him by his service to his spiritual master. They say, yes, you can come here in my Radhakund and make your samadhi here. It's not easy to have a samadhi in Radhakund. It's not even easy to have a samadhi here in Vrindavan. But if you're fortunate and you're favored by the Supreme Lord and his consort Radharani, then you may get the option of departing this material world here in traditional Brajram or Radhakund. Depends what is your rasa, So we are celebrating this today, and my humble request to all of you who are here, at 11 o'clock we are meeting in Gaushala, our ISKCON Gaushala, where we will observe the remembrance and memories of Sripad Maharaj, and then after that we will offer you all a sumptuous feast, which was Sripad very, very dear service he rendered. He was always very, very eager to serve prasadam to everyone. And I still remember going with him and being with him, and him being a guru, he would not take prasadam till the last. He would be there serving everyone. And he walk around in the lines and make sure everybody has prasadam. And finally everything is done, then he would sit down and take something. So we feel very honored that we are also being able to do this service to the Vaishnavas who have come to the holy Dham here in Kṛṣṇa Balarāma Mandir for our oncoming festival for Kartik. So please come and join us in Gaushala for our Tirubhava ceremony. And if you are free tomorrow, you are more than welcome to Radhakund also. On that note, I will stop here. Thank you very much for giving me this time to speak today. Some of my thoughts, although I am not qualified speaker on this subject, but since I was asked, then I thought maybe I will have to take the humble position and try and do something and speak something which is of noteworthy. Hare Krishna. So anybody has any comments or want to make any corrections? Yes, Panchagora Prabhu.
Prabhupada was here, he may want to serve some devotees, but then some of the senior devotees may say, no, you sit down and we'll serve. Just because you mentioned that, I bring it up.
I mean, my take on this is that out of our appreciation for the personality, we would like to say, no, we want to glorify you, you sit down, we want to serve you. But then there's a competition between who wants to serve who. So just like we hear from the pastimes of Vrindavan, all the gopīs are all eager to serve each other. And then one pastime I know in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the Bengali Vaishnavas, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, would come to Orissa to see Jagannath Puri, and specifically they want to come to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the Oriya Vaishnavas are there also. And there is a competition between the Oriya Vaishnavas and the Bengal Vaishnavas. Who is going to serve who? So there is this competition. And you see, as I said, it is very difficult to become humble. So, if someone comes and offers you some honor, respect, prasadam, you say, yes, I'm worthy of this. See, these people are actually recognizing my importance. But on the other hand, if you develop this consciousness, look, I want to serve, and the other person, no, I want to serve you, and that this serving attitude will then really make you Krishna consciousness, because this whole movement of ISKCON is based on service. And who better to show us the mood of service than Śrīla Prabhupada? In 26th Avenue, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, Prabhupada will invite people to 26th Avenue. And they would do a kirtan, and then Prabhupada would give a lecture, and Prabhupada already cooked for everyone. And then Prabhupada would feed everyone prasadam, and after everyone is, boiled away with all the prasadam, they would go away. And then Prabhupada says, okay, Prabhupada is a first-class Brahmana, so he starts cleaning up. Prabhupada cleans everything after all the devotees or guests have gone, and then he would go and clean up pots and everything, and then finally Prabhupada take rest. And then after some times, some people go to know Prabhupada more and say, Swamiji, can we do something? And Prabhupada said, oh, I'm so grateful that you want to help me. And then Prabhupada engaged them. The point is that Prabhupada was showing by his own example, service is the thing which we have to develop. Service mood is the most important, because even Krishna is eager to serve everyone. If Krishna is eager to serve everyone, then we should also develop that from Krishna himself, his topmost personality. Service is the name of the game. Is that okay, Panchagora Prabhu?
Better than okay. Better than okay.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else? Any?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Janat Param. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. Maharaj, as you mentioned that for you it is the greatest feeling of the Tirobha festival is the greatest feeling for you. So Maharaj, my doubt is that how to develop such great realizations for even acharyas we didn't have the fortune of getting physical association.
You see, when a great personality takes birth in this material world, so we celebrate the Vyasa Puja of that personality, appearance. But when he appears, he has not manifested any of his transcendental greatness. But when he disappears, he has left a long list of legacy and service and all great activities he's performed by his own personal example to set for others to follow. And for me, after 18 years of sitting there, so I miss Sripad Maharaj. I wish he was still here. Wishes, if they came true, it would be very nice, but it doesn't always come true. But then I realized that it is by his own exemplary way of life, he dedicated himself to Prabhupada and his service. At least as a disciple, I should take that as my goal in life. Because he set that example, maybe not for everyone, but at least for his disciples. And if his disciples actually follow this sincerely and emulate what the Guru did, then they will be also successful. So, we don't lament. We don't lament the departure of the person, but we feel that he has given us a lot to do in our lives, and engage ourselves fully until our end comes. So we have got a lot of work to do in our life, at least whatever life we have. We dedicate that in the same spirit. Okay? Okay, one more question, because what is the time limit? Okay.
Thank you so much for the beautiful class. You mentioned, Maharaj, that I wanted to attract Prabhupada's mercy in my Asian years. What, according to you think can attract Guru and Krishna's mercy the most easily and soonest?
Well, let's start from top, Krishna. Then his representative, a transcendental personality, once in a yuga he will be here, is Prabhupada. And then, of course, Prabhupada has left the legacy of all the wonderful great Vaishnavas who are now leading and serving Prabhupada in the same mood. So, all these different personalities who are here, connected with Krishna and Prabhupada and ISKCON, they are setting an example of service. And service is the most important. My realization more and more is that we have to develop this service attitude. Always be a servant. Because at the end of the day, what are we? Jivere Swarupa Hoy, Nityar Krishna Das. We don't forget the Das. And then, of course, Gopi Brata Kamalam, Dasanu, Dasanu, Das. Servant of the servant is servant. So everything is based on that. So we should develop that mood. And not just say for saying, elaborate, yes, we are all servant to servant. But we have to become a servant in a true sense. If you become a servant in a true sense, then that means we actually have understood the principle of Krishna consciousness. Because principle of Krishna consciousness, we serve the Vaishnavas, we serve the holy name, and of course Lord Chaitanya's mission. And if we can do even a small tiny fraction to expand this mission of Prabhupada, then you will attract Lord Chaitanya's, Lord Prabhupada's, and all the acharyas, all parampara acharyas, mercy. And if we don't do this, then we will be lamenting at the end of life, saying, I had an opportunity, but I missed it. So don't miss this opportunity, because this opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. And Prabhupada, for me, Prabhupada is once in a blue moon he would come to this material world. So we understand now from at least scripture that Krishna, the Vrindavan Krishna, only comes once in the day of Brahma. And immediately after that, Lord Chaitanya comes. And immediately after that, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada comes. So our next visit of Prabhupada will be in the next day of Brahma. It's a long wait. But at least Prabhupada has left ISKCON, and he said he is ISKCON. So as long as we are in ISKCON, we will see Prabhupada. In every aspect of ISKCON, you see Prabhupada. You see Prabhupada, you see Prabhupada's disciples, you see Prabhupada's family, and everywhere you see Prabhupada. And then you just serve Prabhupada, that's all. Our life is only meant for that purpose. Otherwise, we will be wasting our time. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Vrindavan dham ki jai. Thy Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Bol.